It was a quiet Saturday afternoon, and Darren Walters, a 20-year-old aspiring boxer, strolled down Pine Street toward McDonald's. Fresh from a grueling training session at his favorite local boxing gym, Darren's muscles ached, and his stomach growled for a well-earned meal. The gym was his sanctuary, a place where he poured his sweat and dreams into becoming a professional boxer. Standing tall and muscular, Darren exuded a calm confidence earned through years of practice in the ring. Despite his father, Chief Thomas Walters, being the town's police chief, Darren had never relied on his father's title to get by. He was humble, focused, and determined to carve his own path. Today, however, Darren's path would cross one he never anticipated. As he entered McDonald's, the aroma of fries and burgers wrapped around him like a warm embrace. The restaurant buzzed with activity, customers chatting and kids laughing. Darren joined the queue, his thoughts on a double cheeseburger and fries. Yet, as minutes turned into 15, then 20, something felt off. Customers who had arrived long after him were being served one by one, while his order seemed lost in limbo. At first, Darren shrugged it off. Maybe it's a busy day, he reasoned. But as the fifth customer left the counter with their food, his patience began to fray. Walking up to the counter, he addressed the young white cashier, whose name tag read Evans. "Excuse me, I've been waiting for a while. Can you check on my order?" Darren asked, keeping his voice steady. Without even looking up, Evans muttered, "I'll get to you when I get to you." Darren's unease grew. This wasn't the first time H encountered subtle sympathy dismissive tone. The refusal to even acknowledge his presence. Today, though, it felt more blatant. "I've been here for 20 minutes, Darren said, his voice firmer now. "And people who came after me are getting served." Evans finally looked up, his eyes cold and condescending. "Maybe you should be more patient," he sneered, turning his back. The room grew quieter, whispers rippling through the crowd as customers cast uneasy glances toward Darren. He wasn't one to lose his temper easily, but today, something inside him snapped. "This isn't right," Darren said, slamming his hand on the counter. "You're ignoring me because of my skin color, aren't you?" The air grew tense as all eyes turned to the confrontation. Evans, clearly uncomfortable but determined to maintain his facade of authority, barked back, "Get out of my face, or I'll call the cops." Darren's jaw tightened. "Go ahead," he said, his voice steady but challenging. "Call them." Smirking, Evans signaled to a co-worker. Within minutes, the unmistakable wail of a police siren cut through the air. Officer Brett Sanders, a middle-aged cop with the reputation for being harsh and quick to judge, strode into the restaurant. His eyes landed on Darren, and assumptions clouded his face. "What's going on here?" Sanders demanded, his tone sharp. Before Darren could speak, Evans jumped in. "He's causing trouble, refusing to leave." Sanders' gaze hardened. "I suggest you leave now before things get ugly," he said, gripping his baton. Darren held his ground. "I haven't done anything wrong. I just asked why I haven't been served yet." Sanders' patience were thin. "Get out or I'll make you leave." "I'm not going anywhere," Darren replied firmly. Without warning, Sanders grabbed Darren's arm, yanking him toward the door. Darren pulled back, his voice rising. "Let go off me." Then, everything happened in an instant. Sanders swung his baton, striking Darren hard in the ribs. Pain exploded through Darren's body. Instinct took over his fist, honed by years of boxing, shot forward and connected with Sanders' jaw. The officer crumpled to the floor, unconscious. The restaurant fell silent, the gravity of the moment sinking in. Darren stood frozen, his hands trembling as he stared at the fallen officer. He hadn't meant for it to go this far. The sound of sirens grew louder as more police arrived, surrounding Darren. This time, he didn't resist as they cuffed him. Evans stood at the door, a triumphant smirk on his face. Darren could almost hear the man's thoughts. "Gotcha." Minutes later, Chief Thomas Walters arrived on the scene. Word of the incident had spread quickly, and he wasn't about to let his son become a victim of a one-sided narrative. Reviewing the security footage, the truth emerged. The video clearly showed Officer Sanders initiating the violence, with Darren acting purely in self-defense. Chief Walters addressed the officers. "My son will not be punished for defending himself," he said, his voice resolute. "Justice will be served." By the end of the night, Darren was released, and Sanders faced disciplinary action for his misconduct. As for Evans, his smug expression faded when he was fired for his role in the incident. Walking out of the station with his father by his side, Darren felt a mix of relief and exhaustion. Justice had been served, but he knew this was just one battle in a much larger fight against prejudice. As he walked through the quiet streets, Darren's mind replayed the events of the day. He thought about the people who had whispered but stayed silent, the ones who had looked away instead of speaking up. Yet, amidst the disappointment, there was a spark of hope. He had stood his ground, and his father had ensured the truth prevailed. Back at home, Darren sat in his room, the dim light of his desk lamp casting shadows on his trophies and medals. Each one was a testament to his hard work, his perseverance. Yet none of them could compare to the victory he felt tonight, a victory for dignity and justice. The next day, Darren woke to an outpouring of messages and calls. His story had spread like wildfire, igniting conversations in the town and beyond. Local news channels picked up the incident, broadcasting the security footage that had vindicated Darren. Social media platforms buzzed with support for him and calls for accountability. People began gathering outside the McDonald's in solidarity with Darren. Signs bearing messages like "Justice for Darren" and "End Racism" now filled the streets. Darren, though overwhelmed, knew he couldn't stay silent. Standing on the steps of the restaurant, he addressed the crowd. "What happened to me isn't just my story. It's a story that too many people live every day," he began. "But today, we're showing that we won't stand for it anymore. Together, we can fight for change." His words resonated deeply, inspiring others to share their experiences and push for reforms. Darren's father, standing proudly by his side, pledged to work within the police department to ensure better training and accountability. Weeks turned into months, but the momentum didn't wane. Darren became a voice for the voiceless, speaking at schools, community centers, and rallies. He shared his story, not to relive the pain, but to shed light on the systemic issues that plague society. Meanwhile, Darren's boxing career flourished. His story of resilience and courage attracted attention from sponsors and fans alike. Every punch he threw in the ring symbolized a fight against injustice, a testament to his unyielding spirit. On a warm spring evening, Darren stood on a podium in front of thousands. The crowd roared as he raised his fists, not in anger, but in triumph. He looked out at the sea of faces, each one a part of the change he had helped spark. "This isn't just my fight," he said, his voice strong. "It's our fight, and together, we will win." Thank you for staying until the end of this powerful story. If you found it moving, please like, share, and subscribe to our channel for more inspiring tales. Let's keep fighting for a better tomorrow.